Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. It's still Mermaid. I hope you all are doing wonderfully amazing. Today I'm bringing you a cutesy wootsy little village. It's basically as if like cottagecore, fairycore kind of had a child, and it's all pastel and pink and really cute and pretty. Anyways, this video is a little bit of a longer one, so if you're willing to, cuddle up, grab some snacks, get a little comfy, cozy, and we'll dive straight in. So, getting straight into it, I'm gonna be so honest, I had no clue what I was building here. I started just kind of scrolling through Pinterest, trying to find some ideas because I was really feeling like art block, but Minecraft version of that. So, Minecraft block. Which is, it's really funny because it's just a game of blocks, so I don't know how you can feel blocked creatively on a block game. That's getting a little too blocky for me. Anywho, I found myself in the realm of Minecraft cottagecore, and I ended up really liking the style of these builds. However, some of them weren't in the color palette that I was kind of going for, so I had decided previously that I wanted to just try something with birch and cherry wood. And so I have that birchy, like slightly beigey pink. Beige and pink. Hello, English today is not my fave. And then I just kind of started building. And unfortunately, the first little bit of this video was lost. I don't know how or why, but I recorded it, and maybe I guess I didn't. Maybe I'm just going slowly insane and losing my mind, and the walls are shrinking in, and the government's watching, you know, the birds are spies. But anyways, so unfortunately I didn't have that first bit for you, but I have lots of repetition for you to take notice of. If you're here to try and replicate some of it, that's perfectly fine. I know I do speed up everything quite a bit because it can get kind of boring since I'm a very slow builder, but you can always slow it down if you really need to, or if anyone needs any help, I'm always glad to help in the comments below. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got that inspo, and then I just kind of started building that first really big house that you'll see pop up in a little bit, and then it just spiraled. It was like, well, I've invested so much time already into this one house, why don't I just kind of do a bunch of little things and kind of create a village? And that's where I got the idea for making this whole like coastal-y town, villagey part place thing, whatever it really is. I don't know the name for it. And then with the base of it, it's kind of difficult because I just started literally dragging blocks in random lines, and then I decided to kind of round out some of those corners, and so that's how we kind of got like a very like flowy-ish, like bridgey wrapping around the coast of the island that I found. And I was just flying, trying to get inspiration for literally anything that would fly up and smack me in the face. On a slightly different note though, if you were able to see my video I posted most recently, which is first video in a hot second, which I'm terribly sorry about. I had a lot of issues that I'll delve into in just a minute, but on that note, I'm starting a new series. It's going to be a survival series. There'll be a little bit of character building, story background, because I can't do anything that's not part of the liberal arts in any sort of way. You know, it's just kind of a curse. So I started that. It's gonna be really neat. It seems a little sketchy, but it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be a grand old time. I should hopefully post another video with that relatively soon once I finish editing it and getting all that stuff sorted out for it. It follows the main character, Elira. Elira is a girl from a village. I don't quite remember the name of, I should know that. And all of a sudden she comes home from a trip out. She was gathering berries that her sister Lena had asked her to gather, and she comes back and there's no one left. No one in the village. The village is completely empty, and there may or may not be a book that she receives, a note from her sister stating maybe why they've disappeared or why the entire village is gone. But if you're kind of seeming a little interested in that, please go check out that video. I worked really hard on it. Well, I say really hard. I had a lot of fun with it. Those things don't always necessarily correlate, but I worked a lot on it and I really enjoyed it. So please go check that out if you have some spare time. It's a relatively short video, unlike this one, because I put down so many hours of footage for this and it's still insanely long. Anyways, I'm so excited for that. I hope you go check it out and see the wonderful things that hopefully it comes into and evolves into. And on the other note of why I was gone for so long, LOL, I had so many issues with my computer. My computer is like a Microsoft, well, my old one is a Microsoft Surface Pro, like maybe a 7. We're on generation 11 at this point. I got this this computer when I was starting middle school. So before COVID, right? And just for context, I am now since graduated from high school. Just to put that out there. That's like 7 years that I've had this thing. And so she finally was getting to the point where I couldn't record. If I tried to record, I'd get like maybe 15 minutes into something, and then all my, all the recording for it would crash. All the systems would crash, everything would crash, Minecraft would crash. It was not a fun time. It was very frustrating, especially when I was trying to pursue something that I really wanted to do. And since I did say that I have graduated high school, I'm going to college, which is perfect timing to get a new computer. So I still use that old computer for like watching personal things that I like to watch, like TV and whatnot. But she's kind of been retired from the whole Minecraft, video game, editing, any kind of heavy CPU and storage things that she would need to do. But she served us very well for the amount of time that we had her and the abuse she probably went through as from a middle schooler and high schooler. Yeah, so a little bit about my new computer. I'm so excited. As you may know, with this video, I got some shaders. I finally figured it out, and I spent a little bit of money because I was scared of downloading something sketchy and onto my new computer that I didn't want to make crash and go to heck after I literally just bought it. So I found an add-on for Bedrock because even though I bought Java and I can use Java, I'm very loyal to Bedrock. It has served me very well, and I will probably forever be loyal to Bedrock until someone forces me and pries it out of my cold dead hands to use Java. I feel like once I actually use Java, it'll be fine. It's just everything was not where I remembered anything being, so that was kind of scary, especially when I wanted to start pumping out some more videos for everyone. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. But yeah, so I have some new shaders and they look really pretty, and if you do go check out that new video series that I'm working on, which you should, because it's gonna be pretty good, There'll be some really cool effects, like this shader pack that I have has like rainbow emitters, butterfly emitters, all kinds of like new special effects for the story that I want to tell and pursue for you guys, and just, you know, for my own self, to make that little part of me happy. Yeah, so you should totally go check that out. It's gonna be really neat. I'm super excited. Speaking of the American college education system, oh my goodness. If you're not American and you've never, you know, invested your very valuable time into researching what the average college student has to pay in tuition, you probably shouldn't, because it's going to give you a heart attack. Now, just for reference, I am someone who has relatively good merit, and I do have scholarships for that, so I'm no stranger to working hard to getting most of my college paid off, if that makes sense. But what's the crazy part is the university I'm attending is, for room and board, it would cost me like 12 grand, which that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but that includes meals. So when you go to college, you usually have to have a meal plan, which is food that the university will provide for you. You pay like a set amount of money. For my school, it was going to be like 5 grand in total. And this is like an in-state school. So I have in-state tuition. I have in-state prices for everything. And my scholarships will pay for my tuition and a few other things and whatnot. But it would have still costed me like 12 grand to go to school, just even with my scholarships. Probably a little less, that's probably a little dramatic. I'll be reasonable here. But room and board's super expensive. And you still have to live with other people is my thing. That was my big issue. If I'm paying that much money for like 8 months of schooling, because you don't go to school for that long, you go for like maybe 4 months of the entire year, and then you're paying so much money to like not be there. And so my college is kind of far away from home. I would want to come back home, so I would be home probably for like 3 days at least of the weekend, because of the way my classes are scheduled and whatnot, and I want to come home and see my family, and then I would go back. So I wouldn't be there for 3 days of the week, if that makes sense, pretty much. That's 3 days I'm not using that 12 grand worth of money that I would have invested into my college experience and into my dwellings. And then you have 4 other days, obviously, and yeah, sure, I might spend some time in my dorm, but if I'm going to college, I'm trying to get involved. I'm trying to make friends. I'm trying to hang out with my friends, because I do have a couple of friends going to my same college as me. I'd be wanting to hang out with them. We'd want to go out to eat, or go eat together in like the cafeteria-ish area. Or I'm thinking of doing research with my university. If I want to do research, well, I'm going to be investing so much more time into staying actually in like laboratories and delving into that with professors who would sponsor me, rather than spending time in my dorm. Now, the specific campus that I would be staying at, because of my degree that I'm pursuing, did have better options for housing, I'd say, at least the one I wanted. But the day I was supposed to select my slot for housing, because when you're choosing housing and you're doing all these things for school, you have to put yourself on a list all the time. It's like a first come first serve type thing, but you get a time ticket. So with my college, I got a time ticket to select my housing. And unfortunately, I didn't just know if I really wanted to stay on campus or not till relatively later. So I applied later to get my time ticket. And my time ticket was like May 1st. And just to be clear, everything opened up like April 15th. And there's 9,000 incoming freshmen to my college. So the day my housing opened up, I got waitlisted for housing. And that's so much fun. So I'm not staying there. So I'm saving myself a lot of money, which, if you think about it, I do believe it has value and worth in staying home and commuting. One, it kind of just helps ease the transition into college. I still have the stability of my family at home. I can come see them whenever I want. But I also have friends that are going to live on this side of town where my college is. And they are renting an apartment because they also didn't get housing. So worst case scenario, just pop over, crash at their place, plague them with my existence, and then carry on about my life. But yeah, my main issue though is, why is it so expensive? It's so expensive. Like, the amount of money that I'd have to pay is crazy, especially as someone who pursued a bunch of things in high school. I didn't have time to get a job. I didn't. And I know all my friends did have jobs, but a lot of kids in high school also don't have jobs because they're doing sports, because they're doing other club activities, so that you can have that on your resume so you can get into a good college, which is exactly the path I took, and I could have done things differently. I could have done work and just put a lot of other things on hold, but it's high school, and I was fortunate enough to have the ability to not work. I am very privileged in that sense. But I cannot imagine having to take out loans. And the sad reality is most kids do have to do what I'm talking about not wanting to do. Most kids have to take out loans. They have to take out all this extra money. And the issue is, it's gonna take you so much longer to pay off that debt than you're ever going to be able to pay back. So many people still, they're in their 50s, their 60s, they're paying off student loans. Maybe not 50s or 60s, it's probably more like 40s, in their mid 40s and up, they're still paying off student loans. But it's crazy. It's literally just a money farm. And I do think there's value to going to college and having an education through them. There's also high value in other blue collar jobs, like construction workers or welders, or people where you have to go to trade school, cosmetology school. All those things that you don't pursue a degree for are still so valuable, and school often pressures people to, when I say school, I mean high school. They strictly train you. They're like, oh, you need to go to college, you need to pursue a degree, you need to do this, you need to do that. When in reality, you can make probably just as much money in the end going through trade school as you do going through college nowadays. Yes, it used to be different, and you used to make more money going to college, and some, depending on your degree and your future career that you want to pursue, yes, you can still make way more money. If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to make more money than probably a construction worker or a welder or a plumber. You're going to probably make more money in that sense. But if you're pursuing a degree in business versus a construction worker, if you spend time developing your skills and specializing yourself in a construction site and in certain areas, you could probably just make as much, and you don't have that college debt to pay off, and you might be better off financially in that sense. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is, it's kind of very eye-opening to me as someone who's coming into the world in this new state of life, and with inflation prices and everything. I think it's very shocking. And it's not like I was completely blindsided and didn't have any concept of money or anything like that before going and exploring college, but it's definitely becoming very more apparent to me. And I think that's something that everyone should know, and I think that maybe that's something that should be advertised more and talked about more. I think that's a very important concept for people to understand. On a slightly different note though, to make sure I do incorporate some tips and tricks into this video, so it's supposed to technically be like a tutorial, but you know, I just go yapping and yapping and yapping and you can't stop me talking because I'm on a rant. So I like to work with a lot of different shapes. In this build, you'll see I do have a bunch of different buildings, but there's literally just a pattern that I follow, and that's what I'm going to explain to you. So I first start out with the frame. With these builds, I use like a stripped stripped birch tree log things, whatever, yeah, logs, birch logs as my frame, and those are often pillars. And for most of these builds, I spaced them out about 5 blocks, so there should be 5 empty blocks between each pillar. And then I filled that in. I went in 1 block, and then I filled that in with like cherry wood planks. And you can switch out these colors, whatever you like. I found this color palette and I really wanted to experiment with it today. And then I push everything in by 1 block for depth perception. Now, if I ever go in and actually like decorate anything, that's gonna cause me probably some more issues, but that's a you problem later, so don't worry about that in your current self. Push our problems to the future. And then I'll go in and I'll use stairs and fences and trapdoors to create some more decoration, or kind of crown molding in a way. So I'll put stairs in the top corners of each little like cranny that I have created, and then on either side of those stairs I'll put a trapdoor, and that creates a smooth and effortless like arch transition between all the blocks. And then in the middle I did put a fence, and the reason I put a fence was so I could hang lanterns there to kind of light it up and make it look very like glowy and pretty when it's nighttime or even in just the daytime. And that's kind of like my biggest tip for this build, was what I did there. Another thing that I did is I worked a lot with different shaped roofs in this build. I started out with just kind of generally like roughly guesstimating what I would have to do, and then I did that a lot off camera, so you won't see that as much here, but I did do it. So I would start off at the very top and kind of work my way down how you would do just a normal roof with just the stairs in a straight line, like diagonally. And then I realized I didn't like the shape of that and I wanted to do something a little more intricate. So then once I kind of figured out how much I would have to incline up at a certain pace, I started on the outside or outskirts of the roof. So I start at the base of the roof instead of the tippy top point where everything kind of converges to one. And so I used slabs and stairs and blocks actually to create a more rapid increase than just doing a straight diagonal of stairs. And you'll notice that again in all of my houses pretty much that I did in this video. It's kind of like you just find a pattern and you just flow with it, and you can just change it with whatever you're feeling in that moment, and that's what I do. So another kind of really random tip, and it's kind of like, what is it, obvious? Yeah, that's the word, obvious, is when you're working with such a large scale, like in this video, it's really important to have like subtle details. So you'll notice that I have a bunch of like varying heights to create a lot of more depth. So I have like an upper level, I have lower levels on top of like that base plank deck that I had created. I have walls there, and in the walls you'll see I have a lot of detail. It's not like a ton of detail, but it really shapes the way that this island or this town is going to be perceived. So with that very clean look, I have very clean symmetrical wallings all around. It makes the island seem very professional in a way, like professional and put together. Put together is the right word. It makes the island seem put together, and that's how I want this build to be perceived. Whereas if you're looking for like a torn down, like burnt down castle, you know, ruins, we're not gonna look for symmetry. We're gonna need just chaos all around. So like maybe little bits of fires. You're gonna want to see like burnt, scorched parts of columns, and you're gonna want to see cracks in just broken things. So it's just kind of a little bit of an idea to play with if you're looking to do stuff in your builds like this, because it's kind of a concept that I didn't really understand for a while. And once you kind of understand that concept, which is, it can be kind of difficult, especially if you're new to building, it will really elevate your build so much more. And I go back and I think about old builds that I used to do, and like, were they cool? Yeah, they looked pretty good for, you know, being like 10 or 12. But when you look at what I can do now and what I have done now, you can see like there's definitely a level of complexity that wasn't there before, where it is now. So that's just a cute little tip that I'd like to add to you, share my knowledge with you. I guess my last little tidbit of information for this video is, if you are pursuing a larger build like I am, again, I feel like I've said this 10 million times, you're gonna want to work on your depth perception, which means you need varying sizes in your buildings that you make, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be building, it doesn't have to be a house, it could be literally whatever you want. If you're making statues, if you're making anything, you need to have variation. So as you'll notice, I have a lot of similar looking buildings in it, but they all have a unique shape. So I have like maybe 2 or 3 really big builds, and then I have a narrow build, but it's still pretty tall. And then I have a lighthouse. Well, that lighthouse is curvy. It gives a lot of curvature to the area that some of the other builds don't, because they're houses and they're more blocky and they're supposed to be able to keep a lot of things in it. And I'll add like different dome shapes because it adds more to that variety. If at any point in your build it feels flat or just not quite right, try playing with the shapes of your builds, or like whatever you're making, try playing with the variation in the way you build. So I have like 3 or 4 things that are dome-like at the top, whereas the rest of my buildings might just be pretty generic looking roofs. And that just elevates the whole like entirety of your build to such a chef's kiss level. Like before we were kind of like just like, what is it, not like, it's 1 Michelin star, now we're 3 Michelin star, you know, and that's what we want 3. well, I think that's actually gonna be about it. I'm sorry to incorporate more, like, actually useful things, and instead I just yapped about my life situation. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll put everything I did in the, slow zoom ins, whatever I do, at the end. And yeah, be good people, do great things, know that I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.